welcome. I'm Larissa Green. I'm PhotoShelter's content marketing manager, and I actually have the privilege of setting the stage for our 7th session today, where we'll be discussing how two higher ed content teams celebrate milestone moments with their students and universities and university communities. First, we're going to welcome Jeswell Rivera to the stage. He's the videographer at University of South Carolina. He'll be discussing his approach to basically covering all of the on-campus events and how to cover on-campus events when there are no students. He joined the team in 2019, so we can't wait to hear his story and trajectory. And then once he leaves, we'll be joining, August Miller, Director of Photography at Utah Valley University, will be joining us, and I'll do a proper intro then. To give you the most time, and also so I can look at your awesome background just well, I'm gonna hand it over to you now. So, yeah. Thanks for being here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeswell Rivera. I'm from the University of South Carolina. I'm part of the Communications and Public Affairs team. Our job is to do our best to share the living story that is the University of South Carolina. And from a digital media production side of things, my main purpose is to capture and share that story visually. And most of the time that's through capturing and editing video and photo media, but occasionally I work with graphic design or animation or wherever the team needs me. I came here from Jacksonville, Florida at the end of 2019, just before the holidays, and it was a little odd because at the end of the semester most of my projects were featuring previously captured media. And one of the more interesting projects in my opening semester had me feature a newly published book of photos by Richard Samuel Roberts. And he was an African-American photographer during the 1920s in Columbia, South Carolina. And if you see on your screen, his images captured the African-American middle class in the segregated capital of South Carolina, which is a visual story we rarely see from the 1920s, right? And so this is a great example of kind of repurposing older media to give it new life or maybe share a different story than what was originally intended. And this is where I think I grew, an appreciation for that kind of creative production. And so 2020 came around, and I had months with a new team on a new campus in a new state before I found myself in this great home office that I've put together. So as most of you can relate, our typical approach and process hit a lot of new obstacles. We had to be a lot more creative, and we had to adapt to new ways of capturing and delivering media. And one of the projects that's a great example of how we adapted, it shared a message of encouragement with our university community. Faculty and staff submitted their encouraging words, which they recorded like on their phone or laptop. So there was like varying degrees of production value. And so I gathered these messages and put together kind of an inspirational video for our community. And it was kind of during this time that I kind of found my home in PhotoShelter. We had a handful of different team members who were receiving these submissions from, different parts of our university. And so gathering all of that media and producing it and sharing it with team members for review and eventually sending it off for publication, that all kind of like lived within PhotoShelter, which was interesting for me. And just like Andrew mentioned earlier today, this is kind of where I found that silver lining in our new working situation. Sometimes it can be difficult to jump into a team that's already a well-oiled machine, but during this moment of pause and redirection, it kind of put us all on a new road together. So not being new to repurposing archive media, I was tasked with creating a piece that honored the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima. So the United States Marine Corps had hundreds of archived reels from the Battle of Iwo Jima. And while this battle was captured on film, to well surpass the soldiers who tell the story of that battle, the reels still have a lifespan of their own. They're going to eventually erode, right? And so they sent us the reels to the university's moving image research collection to professionally digitize this footage. And this kind of offers these stories almost infinite and continued life. And this theme of telling new stories with older media, I noticed it carried on over the next year or so. We found ourselves repurposing a lot of different footage from, archived civil rights footage to footage and animation provided by NASA of their Mars Perseverance rover. So that was, interesting projects to kind of carry that theme with. And the summer of 2021, we eventually came back to the office, and I prepared for my first full fall semester experience, or as close as that as we could get right now. And as many of you might be able to relate to, I mean, that first college semester, you had a ton of new experiences, right? There's for some students who are in a new place, with new people, those first few weeks are essential to their development and success. And here at the University of South Carolina, we wholeheartedly believe in that. According to U.S. News and World Report, we have the nation's top first-year student experience among public universities. So we believe it's our duty to offer as many opportunities for our students to create those memories and to, make friends in that first few weeks of essentially their new home. So we pack it with a bunch of events, student org events, job fairs, we have service events, food, art, sports rallies, we've got movie nights and recreational, the list goes on. And I mean, it goes on. For me and my team, we capture about 30 events. But as far as the university is concerned, I spoke with our assistant director for campus programs last week, and she said to date, we're at over 1,300 events so far this semester that we offer our students. So you can kind of say we take our first year experience pretty serious. So part of that experience that we offer is our Pillars program. And the best way for me to describe the Pillars program is it's kind of like an extended orientation students can participate in. I think of it like a orientation summer camp, like an all-inclusive, fun overnight, week-long of activities, and it's to help new students build a sense of belonging and confidence, and give them a jump start to their Gamecock experience. For me, it turned out to be the perfect event for me to cover during Welcome Week, because I was going through these first experiences along with them. And so it was very special for me to be able to capture it. And I know that now, but going into it, I was not sure what to expect. I knew I was going to bring my camera, wear my tennis shoes and shorts, and fully expect to get my exercise in, right? So I started off with capturing some of the service that the students offer. And one of the first things they did was reading to local elementary school kids through a program we call Kaki's Reading Express, and it's a program that encourages healthy reading habits at a young age for our local students. And so our mascot usually shows up, and he puts on a little show for the kids, and they love it. And I'm happy to say that none of them were terrified of this oversized walking gamecock. But when I'm capturing around campus, I try to look for opportunities that I can capture for a diverse set of purposes. And so here's a great opportunity to not only capture for the Pillars program, but to capture that youth reading program. Students also served at our Belser Arboretum, and not something I expected. Being here for a few years now, it's a nature preserve that consists of 10 different habitats. We've got a waterfall, a botanical garden, and a bunch of unique exhibits. The collection of plant communities also serves as an outdoor field lab for our biological science program. And then for visitors, it also functions as a conservation outreach center. And this is kind of the moment where I started to see how much we actually offer our university, or as a university. I mean, here I am in the middle of Columbia, South Carolina, the capital city. couple miles away from the State House, and we've got 10 acres of wildlife that, I mean, I know now that some of my own colleagues have only heard of it. And this is really like when I realized this experience was perfect for me. In addition to serving within our university's community, students kind of split up into separate groups, and they serve at the local Salvation Army. And this type of service plays a huge role on kind of making our students feel like they're part of the community. I mean, what better way to feel part of the community than to turn around and serve your community, right? And they also participate in like group games, and many of these were all over campus. So the students get and I get a chance to kind of like get a feel for how the campus is laid out, and like where the major landmarks are. And to this day, like I owe it to my understanding of campus to that day. Now going into capturing images for events like this, I typically don't know what to expect. But when I get images like this, it's always special to find. Like Stanley mentioned earlier about keywords. Anytime a team member asks me for media for an article or a social post, I start with the simple question of like, what's the vibe you want, right? So when I capture images like these, I'm already thinking of those keywords, like coming together, or teamwork, or diversity. And those handful of keywords really help shape the vibe to complement the message, right? So at the end of the week, we have like a huge 2-team competition in pillars. If you ever been to summer camp, it's like Color Wars, and we call it the Garnet and Black Olympics. And they really get into it, like face painting and team chants and like the works. It's just shy of like the Squid Games if you've seen it on Netflix without all the bad stuff. And they compete in a bunch of different activities. Potato sack race. They do like a dizzy bat relay, if you remember that from your elementary school play day. They do this rock, paper, scissors tag, which is cool to like get visuals of, you know, the split between 2 teams. In the last few competitions of the day, all of the smaller groups come back together, and it becomes like all of Team Black versus all of Team Garnet. And they present their like team flags that they prepared during the week. And then they prepare for like a super intense game of tug of war. And this is kind of the shot that my webmaster was asking for. We have an incredible photo of, you know, pillars participating in tug of war from a few years ago, but it's kind of needed an update. And so she was very happy to find a folder full of, you know, updated content for that. For the last competition, the students kind of like give all they have left in like a spirit off. They can do like a team chant or a pre-choreographed dance, and like anything to share their spirit together. And they kind of go back and forth for a number of rounds, and it basically comes down to like who's going to lose their voice first, right? And so towards the end, the leadership kind of steps away and they like deliberate a winner. And so there's like this moment of pause where I'm going back and forth, and like my ears are still ringing from all of the screaming. But luckily I was able to, you know, capture that like moment of leaping joy. And that's kind of the last event of pillars that I capture. And at the end of the week, I found myself with about 1,600 images, which probably isn't that much, you know, for a whole week of capturing. And so my next step is file structure. And I like my file paths to be like as practical as possible. If I'm, you know, visiting family in Puerto Rico, or if I'm off-road in the middle of nowhere in my Jeep, I need my team to be able to, you know, easily get what they need in my absence. And so for photo sets, I typically do like year, semester, whatever the project name is, and then I'll have a source folder. And then once I edit and export, I create another folder for like the output. And for video, it's roughly the same, year, semester, project. And then I have a source folder for all my raw footage. I have an asset folder for any graphics or music. My project folder is like specifically for my project file. And then anything I export out of there will be in an export folder. I eventually brought them down to like 200 images for editing and exporting, and I uploaded them to PhotoShelter. And we usually upload it to a folder that's we make all of those images available for our branding teams across the university. And so where does this live afterwards? I've got, I mean, I hand it all to my colleagues like Lori and her web team for finding the right place for the media on our new website that was made live yesterday. Congrats to them. They've been really working hard to launch that. So if you get a chance, give it a look at sc.edu. I hand it to CJ and their social team to pick the right images that'll go on social media posts, or Aaron, who will do like graphic treatments, and and they'll eventually make it into print messaging around campus. And especially my incredibly rad supervisor, Dan, shameless plug, I hope you're listening. When I have like thousands of photos, I go to him like, hey, I need to pick one. And it's hard for me to pick one out of the, all of my babies. And he's kind of like, he's the one that make the call of like, that's the one we want. And I'm like, okay, cool, it's out of my hands. But the key is to extend the media's life, and potentially inspire a vibe that will complement another message in the future, right? And so here are some more examples. We have some service here from Pillars. We've also got some recreational time you see over here on the left. In addition to sending it out in the marketing folder, I also like to provide that finished media to whatever programs were involved. And typically they use that for, publishing within their own social media channels. But this time I kind of like received an unexpected response from that. I get a random text message on like a random Tuesday after lunch. And it was this, hey, Jesse, I'm Kelsey, and I'm the now old director of outreach for Pillars for Carolina. Olivia passed along the drive you had of photos, and I'm in a puddle of tears looking at all of them. They're beautiful and captured so many sweet moments of Pillars so well. Thank you a million times for these. And it was just such a sweet and like warm and humbling sentiment, right? And so when it comes down to it, we're really trying to capture, we're trying to do our best in capturing special moments, right? And those moments obviously have a purpose in the world of marketing, whether it's on a website or printed in a magazine or displayed on an end zone scoreboard. But finding those moments that might serve different perspectives or purpose or even a different message, that's kind of a habit I want to continue to grow in. And it's a habit I always encourage my media capturing peers to grow in as well. And even if that additional purpose is just, giving someone a special moment that they can hold on to forever, that's kind of, that's priceless. And that's kind of why I do what I do. So thanks again. I'm Jeswell Rivera from the University of South Carolina. It's been an honor to talk with y'all, and go Gamecocks. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeswell. That was amazing. And I can't believe I've only seen a brief version of that before, like a couple of days ago, and it was fantastic. Even better the second time. Yeah, that was just phenomenal. I have a couple questions coming in, but I think that we may hold until the end here. So I'll invite you back in just a couple moments. Thanks so much. So we now are going to transition, and we are going to have connect with August Miller, Director of Photography at Utah Valley University. He's going to be talking us through some use cases, some best practices and tips for using PhotoShelter. Sorry about the sirens. New York is wild all the time. And the 80th anniversary of the university in general and how they celebrated with visual storytelling. So take it away, August, and prepare your questions in Slack, everyone. See you soon. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Larissa. And I'm August Miller. I'm from Utah Valley University, which is located in sorry, I'm muting because I'm echoing here. I'm muting myself. In Orem, Utah, we have about 42,000 students. If you can see this lovely picture to the right, it helps to have an aviation program as well, so we can get these wonderful aerial photos. But last year we were tasked, or I should say earlier this year, we were tasked with having a 80th celebration, because it's the 80th anniversary of our university. And so we had a campaign that we pushed out to celebrate this. That's going to take place starting. We timed it so that it would come out during the first week of school, because we had this is the first time we'd had students back in live classes since the start of the pandemic, and they wanted to time everything for that. So we started out with this campaign, and it was a huge campaign. We were going to put stuff on the side of buildings. This is our parking structure. We put things on bus wraps. We put things on internal pictures that were around campus and signage that students could see when they were walking in. We had billboards on the sides of freeways with our tagline, "We saved a seat for you." And we had billboards along. Our campus kind of spans over the top of I-15, which is the interstate corridor here. So we used we were innovative, and we used some of the sides of buildings on the sides of the freeways, and put up some of these billboards like this on the sides of freeways. And this was also another billboard that was going up on the side of our new Keller business building that's currently under construction. And this was another billboard that went out, and this one was one that went on the end of our baseball stadium. So, and we stuck them on the sides of buses too, and put them all over the regional area as the buses went up and down the county, carrying people around. So, as you can imagine, this is a huge project. So we enlisted our small team of designers and photographers and videographers and everything else to complete this, and a lot of people had dual roles. And I want to kind of show a little bit behind the scenes here of what we are doing, so that people can see it kind of a behind the scenes take on things, rather than just your normal take. And so we decided to shoot video and still photography at the same time. So we went with continuous lighting. And we set up the lighting so that we had our key light off to the right, and our on-axis fill directly coming in to kind of moderate the shadows and make sure things would look good and make sure the contrast levels were correct. And we wanted, because of the short turnaround time, we didn't have a chance to paint the set that was actually built by our Jody Birch's husband, who was a Finnish carpenter, and Jody Birch is one of our marketing directors and one of the brainchilds behind this campaign. He actually was enlisted to build the set, and then we opted to use seamless paper because we didn't have time to paint it, which is great on the short term, but on the that means a lot of post-production, and I am the post-production, so there was a lot of retouching of wrinkles and stuff to make sure that everything worked good. We had a team of, like I said, of wardrobe stylists that were actually our designers. That's the changing tent and all the wardrobe. Everything was set up. We had multiple sets that we went through on. The shoot took place over 3 days, and the first day was lighting and making sure everything was set up, and the second 2 days were the actual photo shoots on the different sets that we swapped in and out. So this is how the sets were swapped in and out between each things. And we had socks. We had a little pad off like they have on NBA games, so people could step on and off of that to try and minimize footprints and stuff on the seamless. We had our these are two of our designers who worked as wardrobe stylists, and one of them on the left actually worked as one of our models. So she had 3 roles: designer, wardrobe stylist, and model. And then each day we'd start off with putting everybody through makeup and hair and make sure the makeup and hair was all set up. Then we get people into wardrobe, and then we would have a little kind of a meeting with all the people that we would go over the expectations for the day of what was the models, because these are student models. They're not professional models for the most part. So we gave them directions on what we were trying to accomplish each day and what they needed to do on set. And then we would take them out on the set, and these are our video directors. And as you can see on the left, we had all the talent up there, because we found from long experience that if you can make a personal connection and talk with the names of the people you're taking pictures of, then you can get better images and better video and better stills. So with the exception of Jose, because he didn't send a picture in, so we just kind of wrote his name up there. And so this is some of the art that we were able to capture on those days. We would shoot with the video at the same time, so when they were to maximize the time, and also so that the models didn't have to repeat the same segments each time for still and video. We went with continuous lighting, so we only had one light source, so we didn't have to worry about changing lights in and out to make it more efficient. I have a mantra that I teach to my staff all the time that they've heard many times, which is efficiency breeds creativity. And so we try to be efficient at what we do and to allow us more time to be creative. So these are, whoops, we went through and shot a whole bunch of different setups. You can see that there was a classroom setup, a sports. This is the studying in the dorm setup, and of course, a little party and fun goes on in the dorm. We shot a variety of takes, and when the video people would be moving in and out, to set up like a close-up or a wide shot, we would shoot in between that to maximize our time. And here's a little tip here. I'm trying to move along quickly here so that we have a little bit of time for Q&A for Jesswell and myself at the end. But we don't have professional athletes in here, so we would, if you set the ball on the person's head, have them drop their arms and then jump, you get this. And it makes it look like that they're bouncing the ball on their head. And it's a little trick that I've used many times. It'll kind of help you there. And we would work with the individual people, and you can see the little props that were painted. We had to paint everything, and we opted not to do things tethered just because of the logistics of all that was involved for the still photos. So I would show on the back of the camera what we needed to do. And then of course we were tethered for the video stuff so that we could, the directors and people could keep on task, and the focus pullers and all the people that needed to make sure the videos worked. And so you can see kind of a setup here where they are setting up for a tight shot, and I'm shooting in between the sessions and getting them to go. And then that's kind of the tight shot of how they would shoot in for the tight shots, and then they would back up for the wider shots, and they would fill the whole space. And we wanted these photos to be authentic and fun and engaging, and to bring in the youth of the because this whole campaign is for the students themselves. So we had a lot of fun. I'm sure there was never underestimate the importance of craft services. There was copious amounts of beverages with caffeine and sugar and treats and stuff to keep the energy up and keep everybody going throughout the day. And then we also resorted to this. This is one of our producers that helped develop this campaign, George Banner. He's not really screaming at people. He's helping us to get these kind of shots, so that we have these authentic and fun shots on the set that we have with the people that were coming in. And then, like I said, we had music, we had dancers, we brought in dancing, we brought in deans and professors to double up as teachers, so that we could, have these looks and feel that we needed. We have a extensive certificate program here for 2 years for dental and medical, and then now a new PA program and stuff. So we also do fire and rescue and EMT and police officer training, as well as aviation. So we had to bring in a lot of that kind of stuff to this program as well. So like I said, we would do this kind of shots, and then we would have a little bit more fun, because we wanted this stuff to push out to social media, and we wanted to be engaging, like I said, and fun and authentic with our social media audience. So we kind of gave the students a little bit more free reign to be fun and have a little bit of kind of excitement and stuff. And then this kind of brings me into the nuts and bolts of behind the scenes stuff. Because after I captured all of these thousands of images, and we have to narrow it down, one of the things that we do is we upload everything directly to PhotoShelter, and then we use workspaces extensively in the process. And what we do is we set up a number of workspaces to organize and structure the different images, so that we could put them in and share them with the stakeholders and shareholders around the university, so they could make key decisions on what images went where and in what collateral, and also so designers could work on these images during their time and be able to make their deadlines of getting things out and up on buildings and out on social and stuff. And in workspaces, they have this wonderful feature called custom filters, which we used a lot. And as you can see there, we would put things into different custom filters so that the various audiences and people could see them. Here's one of the simple as in the presentation PDFs that are in this we did for a lot of different people to do presentations and PowerPoints and stuff around the university. And so I had them for this presentation today. So you can see those there. And then it says Sparks Fence Final Images. That was for the images that would be going around our soccer field on the outside. And so everything was organized through these custom filters. And as you know, in workspaces, you can send out approvals and comments back and forth with the various people that are invited. If you look up in the right-hand corner, you can see that there was a lot of people invited to this around the campus. This is our the main one that kind of shows you. We had all the images in here for our workspaces. And the last one was our social media workspace. And this one just shows the retouch finals in the 11 because that's where they were moved after the post. But the posts were set up. We had stuff in each individual post. And we had them all done in a way so that the social media people knew which ones were planned out and which ones they could pull for which dates. And they could pull them out and post them on social media. And so there was a lot of retouching on my part to fix all these images to make sure everything was done. There was a lot of work on my part. But no project like this gets done with just a photographer or just a videographer. It's done with a small team of people, a village, and that's the team right there that came together and kicked butt and did this great project that we called the 80th campaign at Utah Valley University. Go Wolverines. So thank you. Now I'll kind of turn this back over to Larissa. So I hopefully left a little bit of time for us to have some Q&A.
Yes, we did, and that was fantastic. Everyone was loving the green, and I'm just actually going to invite Jiswell to come back. Hey, Jiswell, thanks for being here. I'm gonna so I believe we have about 10 minutes of questions. So I'm going to just start right with the last presentation we just had with you, August. My personal question was, how did you choose on green, and how did you get the level of depth of color that you did with just one color? I mean, that was really cool. Lots of people commented on that.
Well, we had this joke that we have, we call it our rainbow of green that we have to use. It's kind of funny. We do have what we did is we went into the green palette, and literally the designers, I wish I had photos of that because we kind of missed that day of being able to shoot that behind the scenes, but I should say more than one day. But we literally went out, got the props, ordered them, and painted them. So the chairs came from an old theater that we found. So every single prop was hand painted. The signage that went on the walls were made by the graphic designers, physically made by them, and posters designed and put up, and lights around them, LED lights. So those were made by our people on site. We didn't have somebody else do that. So that was literally an effort of love. So all the tables were painted, the whiteboards were painted, the clocks were painted, and we just painted various shades of our rainbow of green and kind of put them in there.
So cool.
And that was the aesthetic of the whole thing.
It was so cool. I feel like I remember that from our walkthrough, our dress rehearsal. You did discuss that a bit, but I just had to let everybody know. I mean, that it is a manual labor of love, and an incredible one. I mean, the depth that you got with just the color green, so cool. And everybody's, you know, their interactions, their faces, their engaging with the camera and each other in such an authentic way. And this is, I think I only have time to do one question for each, and I would love to have, if you have time, for you all to join the live chat, because there's tons of questions still popping up in there, and I still have a few for y'all as well. But just so Neil from Greenfly was wondering how many of the students know if they're featured on the school's website and or materials, and if you share with the students publicly so that they have access to look at themselves in that way too.
So as far as I know, when I send all the media to the Pillars Program Leadership, Well, all the students know that, I'm capturing all of this media, and it has continued purpose outside of, just getting sent to them. But as far as like what images are actually going to be used on what page, that's up to like the web team of where it'll specifically go. But yeah, no, I've kept in contact with the entire Pillars team, and they're texting me all the time, and I'm always getting random texts from them. So yeah, they're all very well aware, and maybe we'll get some like tags on Instagram or something of like, hey, look, I'm famous. So
I
yeah,
love
they're
that.
yeah, it's so nice to like get that. In the marketing world, it's hard to, sometimes you don't get that connection. You have like your visuals, and then you have your audience, and then like the connection kind of gets lost because you've got a different message in there. But like actually connecting it to the people who are there, it's kind of cool. It's heartwarming.
Yeah, and the fact that you're both able to do representation work in casting, by also utilizing like students who live on campus that you're also marketing to. So I think that's just really cool for the representation to kind of come full circle for the students to actually see themselves in marketing the place that they're investing their time in to learn and to go out into the world. I feel like that's really, really awesome.